Hello and welcome back to the Canon Factory, an elegant podcast for a more civilized age. This is going to be episode 3, and I'm your host, Sean.
And I'm Mike.
This is Brennan.
This is Richie.
And I'm Matt.
And let's jump right into it. So today, guys, we're going to take one of our first listener questions from the one and only, the wise Doobie. His question kind of referred to our previous topic, which is why we're going to lead off with that, which is, does Disney or Lucasfilm, do they feel the need to explain their version of the Chosen One theory, or what? Or that wouldn't be their version; to be the facts. Should they? Do we want them to? And yeah, basically that's it. Is this something that they should just kind of sweep under the rug and be done with, or should we continue to flush it out again and again?
That's a great question. I would say they don't need to explain it. I'm going to take a hard stance. I'm not going to be wishy-washy on this one.
I completely agree.
So I think that that's a great question. And I've mentioned this before. The more you talk about these historical, theory themes of Star Wars, and you hash them out specifically, the more it ruins Star Wars, I think.
Yeah.
So
Why is that?
I think the mystery factor,
the mysticism,
as
Matt would say.
Yeah, I think that the longer you draw that's what drew me into Star Wars. You go into the cantina, A New Hope, you look around the room, you see all these cool people, you don't know their stories, you want to know what kind of world this is, what's going on. Telling me every single thing that's going on removes some of the mystery and the allure of it, So for me, I don't think they need to. They necessarily. Brendan, what do you think? I mean, you're jumping in on
I guess my question is, how is that telling you everything if they just say, hey, this is the real Chosen One?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily telling me everything. What I'm saying is the more... That's to me, this is one of those things that is okay to remain a mystery. It's okay for me not to entirely know, or me have to make guesses, or me have to make assumptions about. Because if I know it all specifically about the things that I would consider religious or not religious, a part of the Force, the more it's going to ruin it, I think.
Well, Ike, let me ask you this: when
Sure.
you say that,
Wow, everybody's hitting me with the questions.
yeah, well, it's interesting.
Resident
Your
master.
perspective is interesting on this. But when you say that you would rather that the prophecy of the Chosen One be left to mystery,
I think maybe not mystery is the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Did I interrupt? I took it away from you. I jumped your board.
Come on,
My fault, man. Sorry, Richie.
it's
Continue.
okay. It's okay. I was looking at my computer screen. I got distracted while I was hearing my own voice. But yeah, so when you say that you would rather have it left in mystery, do you mean that you would rather it never be revisited again in the new trilogy, that we just leave it at Return of the Jedi, and that it's just...
Well, here's
the Chosen One is never mentioned again?
No, I'm okay with them mentioning it. I think that it needs to be left up for interpretation.
Okay.
So because I think that if they're smart, that's what they'll do. Because if you corner that this Chosen One is a very specific person, you've removed the mystery. So I guess what I'm saying when I say leave it up to the mystery or for interpretation, what I mean is don't pigeonhole one person into that role. So you can talk about it, you can guess about it. Like right now, we're not pigeonholed into it now. Even I think anybody per spoilers Rebels this season would have said, yeah, like obviously, or most everybody's going to say that Anakin is the Chosen One because of Rebels and what was said by Obi-Wan, that he thought that Luke was the Chosen One. That changes it up a bit. But if they pigeonhole it, then they can't continue to explore it. So
yeah, I think I would agree that I think it's better maybe that they not just leave it and we never hear the words Chosen One spoken again. I think that would kind of leave a bit of a plot hole. But I do like the idea of it being left to interpretation. There's a thing, with most art, I would say, it's always better
Ooh.
for interpretation to be left to the audience. I feel like that always makes better art than for the creator to say this is what it means and this is how you have to interpret it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make good art. It doesn't make good storytelling. So
That's a really good point.
I agree with you in that sense.
Well, something that Austin Kroom brought up, who was another guy who chimed in on us, so we appreciate the crowd participation out there, is that he thinks that there's an opportunity if they pigeonhole it, then that doesn't leave opportunities for more storytelling and more art, like you're saying, which I really appreciate. So
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that I really like about the Star Wars universe is it's this super developed technological civilization, but history just seems to continue to get left behind. And so it's something that's kind of foreign to us, where we want the facts and we want to flesh out exactly what happened in history. But there's so many things, it seems like, that people just don't know and they forget about. Like, I mean, the Jedi between the times of Episode 3 and Episode 4 were basically forgotten by the people.
Yeah.
So they seem to have a very short-term memory. So in order to, if we don't just go out and say this person's the chosen one, every generation or two, someone's going to stumble upon that prophecy and they're going to think, well, wow, this is legitimate. This is something that we need now. So I think it's something that's just going to continue to go and roll around in the Star Wars universe.
But don't us as Star Wars fans want more of a story than just the same story retold over and over? So why wouldn't we want them to pigeonhole it so they can branch off into a different story?
So yeah, I'm going to come in and chime in on what Brennan is saying and maybe take a little bit of a sledgehammer to this consensus.
Oh,
that
here we go.
seem to be
Oh,
building
bring it
here.
back. Mix it
Look
up.
out.
Brace for
I think
impact.
the chosen one is a MacGuffin for the prequels.
Okay.
Ooh, all right.
And it's kind of a tired MacGuffin. I don't really want to see it done again.
Yeah, I mean, when I say that I don't want them to answer the question, I don't mean that I want them to keep asking the question. I mean, I want the question to be out there, and every now and then, like in Rebels, like it's not at all a central part of Rebels, but
No.
Obi-Wan just kind of one-liner hit us, and we're like, oh yeah, that's the thing that I guess people weren't sure about. And now with Luke saying, or Mark Hamill saying that like Luke considered Ben Solo to be the chosen one, and it's like it's these little droplets, whereas it was the main plot of the prequel trilogy, and arguably partially, it's not really the main plot of the original trilogy. I think it's just going to kind of get dropped in every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we say that it's like the main plot of the prequel trilogy, but then, you know, if you combine all the scenes that are talking about the chosen one, I think it's probably less than like 15 minutes throughout all three movies. They don't really, at least explicitly.
Yeah.
If you guys are curious, shout out again to Austin Kroom. He sent me a video this week. It's about a 15-minute video. You can YouTube it. There's a featurette on Episode 3's disc, DVD, 15 minutes of Why Anakin's the Chosen One by Lucas.
And you watched that?
I watched it, yeah. I watched
What
all
were your
15
thoughts?
minutes.
Break it down, Ike.
You know, I'd have to say Lucas, right? Love, hate him.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious as you're watching it why the prequels suck.
He was a very ambitious storyteller that fell flat in his second
Right.
attempts.
Well, like, there's some key scenes that you can watch in the featurette where he is coaching Hayden Christensen line by line, and you're like, basically it's Lucas lecturing Hayden Christensen on how to do it, and Hayden is like, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, okay. Like, you can tell that he wasn't giving Hayden Christensen
Creative room.
any creative room to
Why
do
would
it
you
whatsoever.
question George Lucas?
Oh well,
right?
I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah,
I
Hey,
love
break
him
it
and hate
down.
him.
If it wasn't for him,
Love
we
him
wouldn't
and
be
hate him.
here.
Yeah, exactly. So if
So
it wasn't
shut
for
your
him,
mouths.
we wouldn't be here. But I think that there's some. I think that he had too many yes men around him. I think he needed some people that would pressure his creative control. But I mean, me being that person, if I was someone that was around in the prequel era that was working at Lucasfilm, it would be hard for me to be like, no, George Lucas,
Yeah.
you will not do that.
Well,
So I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
the original trilogy I think was so great because it was a story from one man's mind, but it was directed by three different people.
Right.
So it was his story to be told, but multiple creative minds came together to kind of bring it into existence. He didn't, and it's sad because he didn't want to direct all three prequels.
Right.
He asked Steven Spielberg to come and direct, and
Well, he
everyone.
didn't, right? Correct. He didn't direct all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
The prequel trilogy?
Yeah, I
No, he
think-
directed all three.
I don't think he's listed as director on.
You can double check me, but I'm 99% sure.
Anyway, go ahead.
Because he asked multiple people to direct, and everybody said it wouldn't be Star Wars if you didn't direct,
Right.
George, which isn't true, and it's sad that kind of happened. So I think that he kind of had a lot to deal with, and it wasn't the same formula, so you weren't going to get the same result. But that's a pretty large tangent from what we're talking about. So go back to the featurette and kind of what that showed us from the Chosen One.
Yeah, he basically says that there's a key line that and again, I didn't memorize it. I watched a 15-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, sure.
But he says something to the effect of, these 6 movies are meant to be watched in a row.
Right.
And if you watch them as one continuous movie, as the way that I've intended them, you'll realize that this is a story about Anakin Skywalker and his redemption.
Absolutely.
And I think that us sitting back and getting the prequels, putting the original OT into perspective with the prequels, he's right. I mean, absolutely, it is a story about Anakin Skywalker and his redemption. If you just had the view of the OT, I don't think anybody who walked out of the movie theater in 1987 or whatever, 1985, would have said like, "Oh, this is obviously about Anakin Skywalker." Everybody would have said it's about Luke.
Correct.
So I think that there's a big discussion to be had in there. But he's basically like, "Yeah, this is about Anakin, nobody else. Luke is just kind of there as one of the factors as redeeming." Is the redeeming quality that brings about
he's the catalyst.
He's the catalyst, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, despite what I said last week about my feelings about the Chosen One and problems that I have with Anakin being the Chosen One, it's very hard to argue that it's not Anakin. So having said that, keeping in mind what George said about the 6 movies and watching them all as one story, do you guys think that puts the new trilogy in kind of an awkward place as far as the Chosen One and not addressing it?
That's a great question. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think they're always going to be in an awkward place because, yes, they've said that this was Anakin, but there's also left it wide open for interpretation. And I don't know. I think everybody's going to always wonder, even though they say that it's not, even though it's pretty clear who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. They need to. I think everybody's pretty convinced right now that it is Anakin, or most of the populace. I mean, just sitting at this table, most of us think that it's Anakin, or at least see a strong argument that it could be Anakin. And Austin brought this up to me when I was on the phone with him yesterday. That what they need to do is they need to find out a way to not contradict that Anakin is the Chosen One, but possibly see that it wasn't what everyone thought it was in its entirety, which would allow them to, one, not contradict that he is the Chosen One, but build upon the fact that he just wasn't the way that they thought, or it wasn't a full fulfillment of the prophecy. Maybe it was a half fulfillment of the prophecy.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that all these people who are saying so-and-so is the Chosen One, picking their own champion, they're asking different questions. Like it's not, they're not all, their view of the Chosen One isn't the same. So I mean, you're gonna have different answers if you're asking different questions. You're using the same prophecy, but like Yoda and Mace Windu's view of the Chosen One was somebody who was going to eliminate the Sith and bring the Jedi to power. Obi-Wan's view is just whoever's going to kill the Emperor and kill Darth Vader is the Chosen One. Whereas maybe the originality of it was who is going to either, just what is the meaning of balance. We've talked about that. We don't know what the meaning is, but I mean there's essentially 3 or 4 different arguments or questions that you can ask about the Chosen One, so you're going to have multiple answers. Yeah,
so I mean, building off of that, where we are in The Last Jedi, where Luke is, and why, going back to the article that we talked about last week, why Luke thinks that Kylo Ren is the Chosen One, it depends completely on what the Chosen One means to Luke. So yeah, I think that's really probably one of the key questions of The Last Jedi.
Go ahead, Ike.
Yeah, I think this opens us up for a little bit of a change of topic, but what is it that you guys see that has been a theme in the OT and the prequels that is going to be carried over into, we've only, The Force Awakens, and watching it, man, it just goes by so fast. Because they don't give us a lot of time to see the scope. We are thrust into the action, and we don't really get time but just to hold on by the seat of our pants. Ow. Sweet Lord.
I just punched himself in the face with the microphone.
Smashed my tooth right on the mic. So, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
We're leaving that in.
Yeah, we can leave it in. At least I didn't use choice words. I appreciate that. So So the question is, what is it about the OT in the prequels that is a theme that maybe you guys would like to see, that we could see, that we haven't got to see yet in the new trilogy? So we didn't. My point that I was getting at when I smashed my tooth and thankfully didn't cuss is we didn't get a lot of time in The Force Awakens to really see what the world is and what's going on thematically, except for a good kickstart, a good kick in the butt to start this new trilogy. So what are you guys looking for in this new trilogy that can be linked back to the old trilogy or the prequels?
I think two things that we can see in the original trilogy and in the prequels, and that we're starting to see now, is just how useless the Jedi are. Just how they are so inept.
Empire propaganda, your First Order propaganda,
the one-trick pony,
and how they think that they're trying to bring balance when they really are just so wrong in what they actually want.
I mean, would you say that Luke was wrong in what he was trying to do? Because I think he did it pretty darn well. He didn't use violence the way that Mace Windu was trying to. And that's
is he a Jedi?
Luke, I mean, he throws his lightsaber down and says,
The
"I'm a
movie is
Jedi like my
called
father before me."
The Return of the Jedi.
So I'm going to go ahead and say he's a Jedi. Yoda calls him a Jedi. He was the master of the Jedi Order. So I'm going to go ahead and say Luke's Jedi.
Okay.
He's referred to in The Force Awakens as the Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, yeah.
In case anybody's concerned as to who that might be.
Right.
Was it referring directly to him?
It says
Luke Skywalker, the last Jedi, has gone missing.
I think that answers our question for who the Last Jedi is.
That's why I haven't asked it. But yeah, so your theme is.
That's a little tongue in cheek, but at the same time, it's kind of serious.
Okay, how so? I'll give you a chance.
Well, it goes back to my whole thing on how we had that discussion last episode of who we think the chosen one is, and how I think the Jedi are. Each instance of the Jedi is like, oh, this is the chosen one. Oh no, this is the chosen one. Oh no, this is the chosen one. It's like, well, it can't be all of them.
Right.
So it's got to be one of them. Why are you guys desperately clinging for this one person to be your savior?
Jedi orders are built on hope. That
was a joke.
I mean, nobody laughed. So
it shows you how funny that joke was.
Oh, got him, man! Getting shots fired back and forth here today.
But yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a reason why they're always the underdog and always on the losing team.
Sure.
Oh man. So yeah, Sean, what do you got? I'm interested to hear your thoughts and opinions.
Thematically, it's tough. I think one thing that we have talked about a little bit is the politics of the galaxy.
Oh, okay.
I think the original trilogy had a good amount of it. I think the prequel trilogy had a lot of it, but I think a lot of it was neat.
Maybe too much.
Could be arguably too much.
Just a pinch.
Just a little bit. But I looking back, I enjoyed it in getting to understand exactly how such a large galaxy works and operates. And really, I think it's kind of needed in order to see how a Senate that large could fail and an emperor would be accepted. Because I mean, he just declares himself emperor, and the whole room applauds. Like nobody second guesses him because they're like, yeah, you know what, this is needed.
All right, Padme.
Yeah, well, Padme didn't applaud. But I think the sequel trilogy so far, we've seen, I think collectively probably about 8 seconds of the capital of Hosnian Prime, which is now gone, and I guess what was the capital of the First Order, Starkiller Base, aka Ilum, which is also now gone. So I'd like to see a little bit more of the politics this time around to see, what the everyman of the galaxy thinks, what's the conception around the galaxy, because I mean, we have this broken New Republic, which really doesn't govern over much, and this now uprising power in the First Order that's kind of been kicked in the shins, which also doesn't govern very much. What is the galaxy? Just kind of this wide open Wild Wild West? Are the Han Solos in the universe taking over? Like, I'd like to know what's going on there. It'd be cool.
Right.
Is there like some kind of smugglers guild which kind of has some kind of planets? Are the Hutts ruling Nar Shaddaa and all them again? It'd be interesting.
Yeah, no.
With all the going on right now, do we really want more politics
throwing at
going
the curse
on?
words.
Do we really want more politics?
We need to beep on that one.
Like, I'm kind of tired out with all the crap that's going on. Like, I don't know if I want that in my Star Wars movie.
I mean, it's a story, dude.
I mean, I'm a little curious. To be honest, I want to know how Snoke got where he is. Where's Snoke doing? Where did he come from?
I'm talking about actual politics.
Oh, okay. And you want to know where Snoke come from?
Not
where did he
media
go?
politics.
Where did he come from?
Snoke Joe. They'll notice only one person laughed at that joke.
It's hilarious. That's why.
Gotta fire those shots back. Gotta defend my boy Sean over here.
Oh, thanks, bud.
So yeah. What do you always think? You guys are being quiet over here.
Richie, master
Yeah.
of themes.
Master of the themes, master of the art.
Yeah, I mean, I want to echo what Sean said. I definitely want to see more of what's going on politically. I think if I could have any fix to Force Awakens, it would be just give us a little more political context of what's going on, where the New Republic
Which
is.
they had, and then they kind of cut it out. Just kind of got cut.
I wish
Yeah.
they hadn't cut it. Just a little bit. One scene would have done it. But so I agree with that. But on a smaller scale, on a character level, I definitely, I mean, and maybe this is a cop out because it's our protagonist, but something that we've talked about is how Rey and like themes that involve her character really echo and mirror maybe Anakin and even Luke in some ways, which is something that could open up a very long conversation.
Can you break down those things for us,
But,
Richie?
as George Lucas would say, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Can you give us a Spark Notes version of those
Yeah,
things?
let's hear it.
Well, I mean, just if you just went down the list, you've got Mysterious Parenthood. You've got Growing Up on a Desert Planet. You've got mysterious Force abilities that we don't really know the origin of for either character. And I would argue,
So what are you trying to say?
I don't know. I think that's the interesting
Oh no,
thing.
we all know what you're trying to say.
Do
Yeah,
you?
you're trying to say Rey's related to somebody.
No.
You're throw that garbage around here, aren't
Oh,
you?
no.
Oh, look, yeah.
No,
Just like her
Look at
father
the
and her
backpedal.
grandfather before her.
Yeah, see that's the logical jump you want to make, but I don't.
Oh, they're smarter than that.
No, but
huh?
but here's
yeah,
but
I
here's
think
the
they're
thing.
smarter than that. I think
I think if I can cut in, Richie, I
Sure.
think you're onto something in the
I
sense
think he
where
is too.
I think everybody jumps to compare Luke to Rey because they compare A New Hope to The Force Awakens. But if you compare Rey to Anakin, Anakin was a nobody.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
we all know Anakin as a character, but his origin story, Anakin was a nobody.
Was Lucas somebody?
Luke was a somebody.
I'll tell you this.
He was related to Anakin.
I'll tell you this.
he-
Well,
I will,
okay.
I will
yeah, you know
be
what
disappointed.
I mean, from his upbringing, he's a nobody. But
Yeah.
I'll be disappointed. I think if we find out that Rey is a Skywalker.
All right,
Personally,
I'll call
Oh.
Lucasfilm. I'll let him know.
Guys,
Oh,
we've made it
easy.
3 episodes without getting there. I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
I really
I
am.
We did pretty good.
and I don't mean to open that can of worms, but
Sure.
it's hard to ignore the similarities. And
Yeah.
I think I would be disappointed because I don't know. I have my own reasons for that, which
Sure.
we don't have to get into. But
Yeah, that's a 30-minute episode in
yeah,
itself,
it is.
isn't it?
It is.
And it's something that hasn't been hashed out before. That's some sarcasm.
But just to put a cap on that, on some of the similarities, something that, and I'm not the first person to point this out, but I do definitely see maybe a little bit of anger in Rey.
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, it specifically says that if I'm not mistaken, in the Force Awakens novelization.
And the novel, so we take that with a grain of salt, the novelization, because
Yeah.
it's not fully canon. Any
it's not
differences.
canon, but it's not canon.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's something that's in the book but that's not in the movie, you can take what's in the book as somewhat canon.
Right.
But if they're two things but two different stories, you go with the book with the movie.
yeah.
But yeah, when she goes to strike down Kylo, essentially, like she has this surge of anger and
Yeah.
she hears his voice. It says like strike him down within her.
Yeah,
Pe-
dude.
People think
Yep.
that's Snoke, but it could just be herself. I think we all have our own
Who
inner
knows?
voices.
It's
So
And I think
Oh, mine's
maybe,
Snoke, so.
or at least I hope in Last Jedi, something that we'll get a little bit more of is how Rey felt about being left on Jakku. That's definitely going to be a source of emotional character
Yeah,
development.
I mean,
Sure.
and they're already saying, spoilers if you don't want anything about the Last Jedi.
Plug your ears.
Plug them.
to
Skip
take out your
forward 3
headphones.
seconds. Just it take me longer to say this. 3 seconds.
They're gonna come back as you say it.
Right? No, but they're saying that not all of her heroes, aka Luke Skywalker, are
what
who
they
they cracked
seem.
up to be.
Yeah.
So that already seems like a pain point that she's going to have and have to cope with already.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, good. That's good. That's really good.
That's real good, Richie.
Thank
you
you,
got an A
Richie.
today.
A+ on your paper.
Gold
Matt,
star.
you got anything?
Yeah, let's hear what you got, Mr. Philosophy.
Well, guys, this is not going to be very philosophical.
Thoughts for your
Philosophical.
thoughts.
I mean, okay, this is Star Wars. So what I want to see are sprawling space battles. I want to see
Vistas.
intense personal struggles.
Check.
I want to see that stuff. I want to see
Was that not
what
the Force
Star
Awakens,
Wars
though?
is always. It was. That's why it was great.
Well, there you go.
It's Star Wars. I mean,
I wouldn't call that a theme, but yeah,
It's not a theme.
it's not. You're right. It's Star Wars.
The
Star
theme
Wars
is-
is the theme.
The theme is cool.
So you want some fan service, is what you're
Want
telling
some
me.
cool
I'm perfectly fine with fan service. Yeah.
Matt, it seems like you're not taking this as serious as us. You're taking this just a movie, not a way of life.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Forrest Griffin.
Hey, I can post that paper on here if anybody wants to
Oh
read.
yeah, we all wrote papers this week in our
Not
little
all of
Discord
us.
Slack chat.
Some of us did actual
And
work.
one of them definitely was entitled Force Griffin, but anyway.
Graduated with honors from the University of Hidalgo. If anyone wants to
See,
my
that is a
paper.
competing.
We're also
university
gonna have
the
to. We're also
University
gonna
of
have to
Parker.
beep that out. I guess last topic would be we're going to talk about a little bit of news. Shift gears towards that Han Solo film, which seems to have more people leaving than going towards it.
Oh,
Michael Kenneth Williams' role has been cut from the film as he could not make time for the reshoots. So I don't know if that just means. I mean, I know he had other
What
things
a
planned, but he said, "Yeah, can't make
He
it."
was filming in the middle of a desert. So
yeah, here's the thing with me.
I'm not saying it's easy to get there, but I feel like if you're an actor who's going to be in a Star Wars film and you've committed a good amount of time to it, you're going to make your time, unless you're okay with cutting ties with it.
Here's
well,
the thing. Go ahead.
he said they didn't think his role in Star Wars was like that. He wouldn't ever be in a Star Wars movie. He loved working there, and the people were great. It's
Yeah.
just he couldn't make the reshoots.
Yeah, he says, "quote I felt great about what I created with the directors that I worked with, and it is what it is."
Here's the thing that's making me nervous about all this stuff, and I've said it again, or I'll said it before, I'll say it again. You know, the only good thing that's come out of this whole ordeal with the Han Solo movie that has me excited, two things.
Okay.
The Childish Gambino and
Still
Ron
old.
Howard.
I'm just saying, if Lando Calrissian
Opie.
doesn't drop the hottest mixtape of the year, I'm going to be tight.
No, but seriously, everything else has been either annoying or I'm scared about or it just has not been good news.
Sure.
And I don't, and they still haven't released the name for this thing. It just may be Han Solo, who knows? But it just I don't feel good about the overall vibes coming off from the Han Solo movie. And I'm the guy who's making a Star Wars podcast.
You know what
who
it's
I
done
would
though.
should be the fanboy of everything. You know
what it's done though. It's made you talk about the movie.
I
maybe
mean,
think about
it
the movie.
has. I mean,
I'm
there's no bad marketing, right?
Yeah, I think I'm more into the film now than I have been ever.
And Ron Howard keeps posting different things on Twitter.
Ron Howard's pictures have got me excited a little bit on the
Sure.
Instagram. But moral of the story is we haven't really had good news. And even with the or even the Ron Howard news was good, which was good news in my opinion, was birthed out of bad news, which was the firing of their directors.
Right.
So I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm hoping they keep his character in the film and it's just recasted because the article keeps going. It says plot and character details had been kept under wraps, but Williams said he played a half human, half animal in the film.
Oh.
And that we quote created a kick-ass character in my opinion, and I'm proud of it. So it sounds like something that would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
If it's maybe a friend of Chewie.
Does
or
it
something
say
like
if
that.
they're going to completely pull him from
Force Griffin?
like he's not going to be in it at all?
His character was cut from the film.
So completely cut from the film. That's
Yeah,
disappointing.
his role was entirely cut from the film because
Yeah.
he couldn't make the reshoots. Because he's in Africa filming right now.
I think Sean and Ike are going to know where I'm going right here. But half human, half animal.
A centaur?
Could be opening up the door.
For a centaur? I don't
I'm
know.
not
No,
thinking
he's-
centaur.
You know what he's thinking.
I was thinking centaur, but
Force centaur.
Force centaur.
Force Griffin?
That sounds more.
Maybe.
Is a griffin half human? Do you know any type
didn't
of
think it was
mythos
human
over
before
there,
it transitions into
I don't
a
know.
griffin.
Somebody
Good lord!
isn't a griffin what those things are in the Lord of the Rings?
It
at the
is
end?
a lion with wings.
Oh, a lion with wings. So it's not. No, I think I'm thinking of the giant
You're
birds at the
thinking
end
of
of the Lord of the
a
Rings.
giant
eagle.
Yeah,
it's
what
just
are
an
those?
eagle, just a
Dustin
little bit
DuBose,
large.
please tweet at us.
Eagle.
I don't know the names of those things. Dustin DuBose would know.
Yeah, we'll have to have him in on our Lord of the Rings
Good
podcast.
thing
Yeah.
we don't care about Lord of the Rings. We only care about Star
Well,
Wars.
it's a-
so.
it's a-
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. So anyway,
Yeah, I think the only other thing that was interesting from that news is that he released Amelia Clark's character's name, which has
then-
opened an unnecessary can of worms.
and then
because-
immediately closed it.
and it was immediately closed. It was quite the roller coaster. Said her name is Kira, which has now been changed to Kura. But for those of you who don't know,
Kira.
or Kira or whatever, Kira was the code name for Rey, or Rey's original name in The Force Awakens. So people are like, her name's Kira. She's probably her grandma. But
Said everyone on Star Wars
Yes.
speculation. Reddit
everyone starts
sub-
speculation is just like, duh, Amelia Clark, mother of dragons, grandma of Rey, and they're just going crazy. But yeah, I think that's a bit of a stretch, and I think that can be disregarded.
It's a name, man.
It's a name, and everybody has a name. And Star Wars, Lucasfilm thinks of names, and when they don't use names, but they also like those names, they're probably going to reuse the name at some point in time.
Question about that name leak. Do we know, was that accidental? Did he just let it slip?
Probably. He was just talking about the film. He's probably saying, I didn't read the article about it because that's what we do in today's world. We read article titles and just take them as truth. But I don't know what's going on over there. But yeah, I don't know how much he said. I think he's probably just speaking of working with Amelia and her character Kira or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's why they reneged on the name, because I think it was transcripted because people were listening to his interview and people were like, "Wait, what did he say? Did he say Kira? Did he say Kira?"
Oh yeah, he says he was playing a link between Han Solo and Amelia's character Kira was the quote.
On his way out, let one slide. He said, "Screw that NDA." Apparently,
And what are they going to do to him? Cut his character?
right? Exactly.
Interesting names.
Sue him.
So far we have Kura or
Sue him, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they could sue him.
yeah, well, whatever.
Disney, please don't sue us. We are trying to support your product.
Yeah, we're kind of weird names with Kira and then Beckett from Woody Harrelson. But I think that's gonna be it for today. I want to thank you guys for listening in to this episode of the Canon Factory. As always, we are an elegant podcast for a more civilized age. I want to remind you guys about our 100 Days of Star Wars, which is starting up on September the 6th. As always, you can find us on Twitter at the Canon Factory. In our bio, we have a nice little calendar for you guys to follow along with us as we take a journey through all of visual canon. We'll see you guys next time, and thanks for listening.